1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Royal Blue Podcast sound check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Friday show live. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Hello and welcome to the Friday edition of the Royal Blue Podcast. We are live on the Royal Blue YouTube channel. I am your host Ian Croll, and joining me in the Royal Blue studio today to talk all things Everton, we have Chris Beesley. Chris, our things all good? Looking forward to Villa tomorrow?
Yeah, looking forward to return to action. I think as you say, we'll mention this later on, but a sneak preview of the Hill Dickinson Stadium tours last night, so we can talk about that in all good time. But yeah, in fine fettle, looking forward to getting back into it.
Good stuff. We've also got Gav Buckland, first show, debut in the new Royal Blue studio. We've got to ask, what do you make of it?
Got to ask, compare it to HD Stadium.
Well, I don't think we can compare it to that.
Comparisons, you know. No, it's first thing as both. Yeah, it's great. Yeah, I know you told me off for not putting me a cup of tea on the coaster, which is... I think
new house in it.
Yeah.
This is my favourite part of the day. Don't ruin it, please.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I know you built the studio as well, and I know now, but it's very nice. Hopefully the content will match the quality of the surroundings.
Yeah, well, hopefully.
Absolutely, I like all the livery and stuff. And we've still got the Gladys Street. Was it the Gladys Street? Is it? Yeah,
that's the turnstile that I go into, or used to go into, should I say?
Really?
Yeah. The old one, is it?
Yeah.
From our friend of the show, Dave Kennedy.
Yeah.
He provides that.
It's nice and cosy down this end. It's a bit like Blockbusters, isn't it? Do you remember the Gavin was 2 against 1?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Bob Holness. Yeah, I know we're going off on a complete tangent here that we don't need to go down, do we?
No, I mean, just one final thing on the studio. Obviously, we're in it. It is. We can use it. Everything's fully functional, barring any technical difficulties that we do.
Last words.
Yeah, absolutely.
A lot of people talking about the background, and there is more stuff on the way in terms of we're getting another light box with the Royal Blue sign on the back, and then we're hoping to put some pictures and football memorabilia above the TV as well. So everyone's feedback has been taken on board, and hopefully in the next couple of weeks, if we can find some more money in the budget, we will find some nice picture frames of great moments from Everton's past.
I was going to say, a bit, talking about retro TV, maybe a bit like Tony Hart in the gallery, get a few pictures up of your favourite Everton players, or Joe Thomas, and you want to do a sketch of him, something like that.
Yeah. I've got a 55-year-old picture of Howard Kendall and Joe Roden ours if you want it.
Well, we've got that one in Neville as well, haven't we?
Oh yeah, the Neville Southall poster. Yeah.
So we've already got stuff that we've been gifted.
Where it's spelt, I've still got it. Howard Kendall was spelt Howard Kegel.
Kegel.
Yeah, Kegl, and Royal was spelt Royl, if I remember. Yeah.
Wow. And another thing we can both get on the if we get some shelves up. Chris's Spirit of the Blues book and your book as well, Gav. You wrote a book, remember?
Yeah,
I've done a few
several, actually. Yeah, thank you.
Your latest one?
Yeah. No, I'm halfway through, by the way. Enjoying it very much. Enjoying it. Great.
Good stuff. Okay, well, today's agenda, obviously, this is the final preview show before Everton's match with Aston Villa. So we'll get into the usual team selection, usual predictions, plenty more to come throughout the show as well. So before we do get into it, just a word for our sponsor, NordVPN. To get the best discounts off your NordVPN plan, go to nordvpn.com/EFC. Our link will also give you 4 extra months on the 2-year plan. There is no risk with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. The link is in the podcast episode description. As always, give us a thumbs up, drop us a like, and if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. Get your questions in, get your comments in. Your support, as always, is greatly appreciated. Honest to God, right, come in today. thinking, what are we going to speak about? And there's a couple of things that have developed, obviously, that we can. But I was speaking to Chris before we came in. I was thinking, I know it's early days, but things are going so smoothly, but fairly smoothly at the minute that there's nothing to moan about or kick off about, is there?
Yeah.
No, there isn't. I'm like, where do we go with this show?
In the 90s, I used to work at Radio Merseyside of a Saturday, and on the sports team, and like if both teams won, of a Saturday, you'd go to answer the phone, the callers for the phone, and there'd be nobody would phone.
People only like moaning.
But if they both got beat or one of them got beat, it was like on the red lights everywhere on the and podding is the same, isn't it? This is new, isn't it?
There's nothing to question, is there? And then, like you say, when you've won, certainly post-match, you just want to enjoy your baby.
We also are obliged to say we're not just talking about the men's team here as well, aren't we? We're talking about the ladies team. Aren't we? Great win, wasn't it, at Anfield last week?
Well, Joe and Chris went into the detail on that show, didn't they, on Monday?
And always good. Great header, by the way. Always great when it hits you on the side of the bar, isn't it? And goes in. So, I was trying to think, when was the last time we had this type of, feeling of, feeling good feeling around the club? I'm not going to include the start of COVID because obviously that was a bit artificial. When we were top of the table and top of the Spotify charts. I think possibly you'd have to go back to the Martinez season, first Martinez season, 13-14.
Even then, though, so we started a little bit slow in that season.
Three draws, wasn't it? Yeah. But it's early days, though, isn't it? And it can, tomorrow, I think, and we're going to talk about this, but I think tomorrow, in the context of that feel-good factor, tomorrow's an enormously pivotal game, isn't it?
Which way it goes.
Yeah. So, but it's great, isn't it? And I mean, let's face it, it's not just like the team and Moyes and Jack Grealish, and it's a new stadium, isn't it? We've heard, haven't we, lots of support say it can be a bit flat when you move to a new ground, but actually it appears to have had the opposite effect for us, both in terms of not just in results on the pitch, but just generally. I'm not supposed to about this, but I went to the Brighton games, the only time I've been there, and what really, really impressed me, and I was really glad to see, it felt our ground straight away. The supporters, it just felt like Goodison, and the atmosphere and the feeling had just been transferred a couple of miles down the road, even though it's a bigger stadium and the acoustics are different and stuff. It felt like our home ground.
Well, that's crucial, isn't it? Getting that is,
for a lot of clubs who say they've moved, that can take a while. I mean, there's probably West Ham, they probably say it's never felt like their home ground. And that was the main reflection it got, apart from the stadium itself, of the Brighton game. It felt like home. Even from the press seats, and they are in the gods as well, aren't they? Yeah. It felt like home, and I think that it's enormously beneficial, isn't it, when that happens? If you get a run of not so great results, that might change. But on the day, and again, from what I saw of the Mansfield game, it felt very much like we're at home already, and you really underestimate how difficult that is. Moving to a new ground.
Yeah. I think there's a combination of crucial factors, Gavin, that hopefully for Evertonians, the best things come for those who wait, not just in terms, obviously, the structure of the stadium. It was well documented, Dan Meese, the tight, steep stands, that's what they wanted to do, replicate Goodison as much as they could in a modern setting, but also where it is, I think, there's been a lot of debates, obviously, of the transport issues of it being on the dock, but it's just an iconic place. It's still in North Liverpool, just a couple of miles from Goodison Park. So if you'd imagine, if you'd have gone to Kirby, which was hugely controversial, or even down to Kingstock, it might have been totally different. So it's all those factors coming together, and I mean, it's probably important that you started with a win and they sort of rode their luck at times against Brighton. But if they can sort of build on that momentum, that could be a really sort of key issue. I think David Moyes said he wanted to bring the soul of Goodison to Hill Dickinson Stadium, and hopefully that is the case.
I mean, as much as sorry, we've gone off on the tangent here. I know you said we're struggling.
We're filling that content.
We're providing the content, the big fill. But we say, don't we? This is one of the anomalies, isn't it? We say, Goodison beer pit, but our Goodison record over the last 3 or 4 years has been absolutely hopeless. I mean, even last year when Moyes came back, we didn't really have a great record until. Did we not win from February to May or something?
Still ended up being the joint lowest home league wins in the club's history.
So for all we used to like to have this belief that Goodison was a beer pit and we frighten the opposition and we'll win all these games. In many respects, it was the opposite, wasn't it? For certainly since we come out of COVID and even during COVID, And so that needs addressing, doesn't it, really? And helps if you have a decent team with players who are on form. But that's one of the roles that Bramley Moore, I think, can play, isn't it? Is making it difficult for opponents. And, you know, when you've got 13,000 extra people there, which also makes an enormous difference. I don't know about you, when I was looking at the stadium, it looks more than 52,000 people there, doesn't it? When you compare it to Goodison, that was just my impression, you know.
Well, that obviously there was that famous photograph this week on social media. Did you see it with the Everton and Magic banner? No, right. So the 1878s, of course, who do all the flags and banners, and for they had the green Everton and Magic banner draped on the Gladys Street. And it sort of filled a fair old chunk of that from the upper Gladys going over the lower Gladys. They stuck it in the south stand. It's like a postage stamp.
Yeah.
And it sort of emphasised that size difference.
He made reference to that on Twitter, didn't he? Saying you don't grasp how huge that stand actually is compared to what the flags that have been draped across the park ends and the lower Gladys. It obviously doesn't fill it as much as it.
Well, they said we're going to have to get some new flags. People said
get
some
a bigger flag.
Yeah, we're going to
volunteers, I guess, as well.
Continental style tifos or whatever. They're going to have to do something to fill that huge space because it is. You know, they called it the blue wall. That's what they wanted. And they're going to need a big flag to fill it now.
We're doing AOB here before the start of the pod. You know?
Does it not just prove as well then, Gav, just from what you were saying at the start of your what you started talking about there, just how important the fans are? And how the fans have kind of embraced this move, because a lot of people didn't really want to leave Goodison. I know people who were just happy to stay at Goodison, but I think now a lot of people's minds have been changed. They were reluctant, and it's all well and good saying, well, we've got this stadium that can, you know, the atmosphere is going to be great because of the way Dan Meese has designed it and built it and etc. There's obviously problems with the West Ham stadium and how they hate their stadium. So we've done it the right way, but the fans have embraced this as well. And without the fans, the club would be nothing as well, wouldn't it?
Well, without the fans, any club would be nothing, wouldn't it? Really, it's not just Everton. I get that completely. You've got to have vocal support, and but at the same time, it goes back to this thing, chicken and egg, isn't it? Really, you only get vocal support if the team's playing well. If you know which drives which. Yeah, absolutely. And I think, you know, and that goes back to what I was saying. I think the fans have embraced the move, and at this moment in time, you know, it feels like our home ground because we had a couple of good results. You know, but it's like anything else. Some way down the line, you know, you wouldn't want it to, but that you may look at it slightly differently. If you win a football matches, things look a lot rosy, don't they, on and off the pitch, and that's where we are at the moment. But that can change. We've got to ensure that it doesn't change. And but I was really impressed by it. It just felt like home, you know, straight away. And I know it's the summer in August and day in August, but in the middle of November when it's, you know, teaming down or whatever, it's slightly different.
I don't know. We should embrace that because the opponents won't like when they come there.
Yeah, can you do it on a wet Tuesday at Hill Dickinson? It was just it's just a really good experience. That just thinking, this feels right. This, you know, and we got an early goal, and that can change everything, can't it? But I think it's also, and this is I think this is important, isn't it? I think, and it's probably a unintended consequence in a good way. I think within that's where the benefits of having Moyes in charge compared to another manager kicks in, doesn't it? Somebody who understands the club historically and has been, you know, did that transition, and you know, knowing the right buttons to press, which I think he did on the final day at Goodison, and that generates momentum, doesn't it? And I think, you know, we're seeing the benefits of having Moyes in charge on the pitch, but I do think that Moyes knowing the right buttons to press, understand how Evertonians feel about Goodison. I think having him in charge is undoubtedly helped that transition into the new stadium. If it had been another manager who didn't have that depth of knowledge about the club, then I think might not have seen the same effect, understandably so. But I think more, you know, imagine if Dyche had been charged in the final day, like, you know, and a clarion call from Dyche, blah blah blah. But everybody knows, like, actually, you're probably not going to be there, Sean. You know, but with Moyes, different feel altogether, isn't it? And he's done well, hasn't he, Moyes, I think, to be fair.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you listened to Wednesday's show, but me, Connor and Tony, heaped huge amounts of praise on Moyes. I don't think anyone could not, to be honest, what he's done. I think he's changed a lot and he's turned the club around. Are you surprised, Chris, at how quickly he's managed to do so? Look, we keep saying it. It's early days. There's only 3 games in, and we've already lost one of them, so it's still very, very early. But in terms of the feel of the club, the players he's brought in with the recruitment, the attitude of winning football games, it's a complete turnaround from when he first came back on his second stint against Villa, but he's done it in such a short space of time.
And like you say, like you've referenced, it's actually a complete turnaround after that Monday night at Ellen Road, and everyone's like, "Here we go again, the same old Everton." No, it's going to be, another long old season. But he surprised himself. He said it on many occasions. I was fortunate enough to sit down. Obviously, I covered the tour of the USA. I was out there the whole time, and I sat down with him in the team hotel in Chicago. I'd asked for a big sit-down interview with the manager, and that's where we got it in the middle of the tour. And I was asking him about obviously coming back, and he said he was genuinely concerned he would ruin his legacy.
I was as well, absolutely. Yeah,
because of all that he achieved.
Before he came back, you mean?
Was it 9 top 8 finishes, including the club's highest ever Premier League finish. But all of that would be sort of like that down the drain, as it were. If he'd been the manager who'd taken Everton down in the final season at Goodison Park. I mean, as it turned out, I imagine Everton would have been all right anyway, because the bottom 3 were all so bad, but it would have been a pretty rough ride, I imagine, if David Moyes hadn't come back. It'd have been safe, but, it wouldn't have been nice necessarily. He was genuinely concerned about that when he came back in, and obviously he got that momentum. Obviously, as you mentioned, the Villa game, he lost the first one, but then that was almost like he did a carbon copy of that sort of a Dyche lineup, and then after that he made the changes of bringing Jake O'Brien in and stuff like that, and then Tottenham winning it down at Brighton and Hove Albion. I imagine that even he is pleasantly surprised, and I've spoken to members of his staff, and that it's been a similar thought with them. But like you've both said, he understands the club. Like I mentioned before we went on air to Gav, great stat for Gav. He's provided the stats he always does ahead of the game. And tomorrow, David Moyes moves ahead of Howard Kendall. He's still behind Harry Catterick. But you think of Howard Kendall, the club's most successful manager, who was there for 3 spells as well. For David Moyes to have managed more games in total than Howard Kendall. It's only Wenger and Ferguson ahead of him now in terms of Premier League games. He knows the territory, and in many ways, I mean, I always say, don't go back in football. You shouldn't go back as a general rule. I mean, I know he did it at West Ham, but he was only there a short spell the first time. His second spell was better at West Ham. I genuinely believe, for all the good that David Moyes did in his first spell, he's actually a better, more well-rounded manager now. Was he 62 now than what he was in his first spell? He kind of, I think you said, Gav, he learned on the job first time round at Everton.
Yeah.
And for all those experiences he's had post-Everton the first time round, good and bad, because he took Sunderland down, and obviously he's got the sack at United in the first season. He was only at Real Sociedad for a little while. I think he's sort of risen up himself, and he's learned from all that. And Everton have now got him at this pivotal moment as a history, a better manager than he was first time round. And I think it was that interview he did the other day, the Christopher Ward one. It was basically put to him, he said that his ambition for Everton now is to get them back into Europe and his second spell. But I think deep down, everyone just wants to see him win a trophy. We're getting ahead of ourselves a bit at the moment, but that's got to be the goal. He's done it at West Ham United to provide silverware for Everton.
Little wry smile on Gav's face when you said trophy there. I was going to bring this up.
Yeah, but I think that's right, though, isn't it? I think... Yeah, no, sorry, go on, Nate.
No, it's fine. Although I was going to bring this up, to be honest, at some point in the pod, but I'll bring it up now, since we're talking about Moyes. Tony Scott on Wednesday said that he believes Moyes has 2 years left at Everton. Obviously, that is probably in line with his contract, but Tony thinks that Moyes is only going to stay at the club for another 2 years. He thinks that he's going to try and fast track the club to a European qualification spot, or obviously what Chris said there, try and win a trophy. We know how hard that is going to actually be to achieve. But do you agree with Tony in that respect, or do you foresee Moyes staying on a little bit longer? Obviously, if he's being susuccessal,
he's got a 2.5 year deal.
He's a 2.5 year deal. He's done the half year.
If he stays for that duration, he'll overtake Harry Catterick as well, won't he? I think he's about 50 games short, Harry.
Okay.
The club's greatest manager for me. You don't know, do you? It depends on how it's going on the pitch, how his health is, all that. So there's lots of things that kick in there. Compared to say like how quickly he's turned it round, I think I've got to be fair to Dyche here. Having 100 million quid to spend during the summer helps, even though he has lost players. And I think it was an indirect compliment to Dyche, wasn't it, on the final day when Moyes said, I've taken over a club that was broken. Dyche would say, well, I kept that broken club up twice in difficult circumstances, so I did a good job. So I think we need to remember the role of Dyche in all of this. Because I think if it wasn't for some really good management by Dyche over a couple of seasons, we may not be having this conversation. Yeah. And I think we should remember that. And Thelwell, I think, within that. Going back to your question, we'll see. What I'm quite pleased about, though, and this is within that, is if Moyes was a 2.5-year deal, he hasn't bought players for the next 2 seasons, has he? He hasn't bought a load of players. Like, I'm just going to buy a load of players now. I know do a good job. Yeah, do a good job for me over 2 years, and then that's it. I'll go. There's a little bit like when Ferguson left United. There was players bought there only for his last couple of seasons, and so he's bought players who will be there, even contractually beyond Moyes' contract, which is always good, by the way, for a club. And so I'm pleased that he's investing in Everton's future when he might not be there, where another manager may have done the opposite. So I appreciate what he's done there. That may point to actually that he may want to spend longer than 2 years, but we'll see. So I don't know. When you get to Moyes' age, and he is, as you say, I think he's the oldest Premier League manager. Yeah, your health comes into it, and your family, and what you think is the support and what you think is in the management seat is two completely different things. But who knows? You don't know. Really. I
guess it just comes down to success on the pitch, though, as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
He might just have the willingness and the fight to carry on if things are going well.
Yeah, absolutely. Depends where we are. If we get qualified for Europe next year, maybe I fancy this. So I don't know, but from what you hear people talk, don't you? I think the generally accepted wisdom is just going to do this season and next season. But I'm just glad whatever's happened, he hasn't tarnished his legacy. I mean, that was my fear and why I didn't really want him coming into the club. I was a huge fan of Moyes and what he did the first time round. I didn't necessarily agree with Pat Nevin, by the way, when he said about Moyes was playing football that he's always wanted to play.
That's why I brought that comment up. I thought it was a backhanded compliment.
I think if you see Moyes' teams from 2006 onwards, certainly the 7-8 season, 8-9, second half of the 2009-10 season, started at the end of the Jelavic, a few months from the Jelavic, when Jelavic, the second half of the 11-12 season and the 12-13 season, we play football then very similar to what we have done in a couple of games, and that was over whole seasons, not in a couple of matches. So I disagreed with Pat about that. So we'll see. But yeah, I'm really pleased so far, and long may it continue.
Kevin Kraft says, going to Manchester United ruined David Moyes, and coming back from that has been amazing. He's done a great job since.
He really has rehabilitated himself over a long period.
Could have ended a lot of managers' careers, really. And let's face it,
he didn't do great at Real Sociedad as well, and Sunderland. So it's not just Manchester United.
I think Pep might have struggled to keep Sunderland up in the 60s.
No, well, I think it's West Ham, obviously, isn't it? That has helped him. And
also the first 2 or 3 years at West Ham, that the football they played was really good. So there's not just Evan I'm talking about in terms of disagreeing with Pat and Evan. He's done well coming back from the United debacle. It just, as I say, wasn't handed the best of legacies by Ferguson, was he? And he was also vulnerable in that David Gill left the same time as Ferguson, and they ran the club. And Edward Woodward comes in, doesn't he? Isn't it? Was it Woodward? Yeah. Comes in and he's not Moyes is not his man. When that happens to a manager, you're vulnerable. Yeah. And let's face it, his job, the job he's done, did then. When you see what happens to United since, it doesn't look all that bad. And he was let down badly, wasn't he, by United? Because what did he promise him? Bale, Fabregas. And then he didn't.
But he had enough trouble trying to get Baines and Fellaini, and then got Fellaini on his own, didn't he?
Yeah. And You know, he had you know, the club let him down, didn't he? He was going to bring in and then sacked him, but he shouldn't. I'm not sure whether he wanted the job. They reckon he was offered it in the 11-12 season, don't they? I remember Paddy Barclay saying, the late lamented Paddy Barclay saying, he knew Moyes, and he said that Moyes had been set. If United had won the title in 2012, that Moyes had been lined up to take over then.
They kind of threw it away and only just lost it anyway.
So there's pivotal moments there, isn't it, really, that affected Moyes' managerial career. But he's done brilliantly since being sacked by United, really, in that context.
I don't think we can give David Moyes praise anymore, but we'll move on.
Yeah, well, that's fair, but you've got to, you know, there'll be times where, even at the end of last season, we give Moyes criticism, even after the Leeds game, which is only like 3 weeks ago, giving Moyes criticism. I was very vocal after that. So about the players being undercooked and not fit and, you know, and that type of stuff. How did you set the team up and the tactics on the night? So, you know, for all that you've given them praise here, it's well deserved, but there's been time already this season where we've been critical of the way he set the team up, and we've, you know, rightly given some constructive criticism on the pod then. Fair enough.
Chris, Everton and Jack Grealish finally getting some recognition. Some breaking news, I guess, this morning. We were worried that we weren't going to have anything to speak about, but we've got to 27 minutes before we've actually spoke about a topic. Obviously, we can put on the website as well. So, Jack Grealish awarded the Premier League's EA Sports Player of the Month for August. Can't remember the last time an Everton player won a Player of the Month in August. Obviously, talking about the other week, it was a long time since Everton actually won a game in August. So he came out on top following a combination of fan votes and votes from a panel of football experts. So, you know, recognition for Everton's good run of form and recognition for Jack Grealish and 4 assists in the 2.5 games, I guess, 2.5 league games.
As Gavin and I were talking, we were saying we're not too sure how it was sort of calculated and how that be, because, I mean, if it was purely a public vote, I doubt Everton would get it across the board. But yeah, richly deserved in my book, like you say, from just the 2 starts, the 4 assists. I mean, that's pretty good going. I mean, I don't know. I suppose it's the shortest month, isn't it, in terms of on a football point of view? We only got 3 games in, didn't he? But yeah, he's been a breath of fresh air, and it's kind of what you would all be hoping for with Jack Grealish. There's question marks whether it would be a good deal for Everton to bring him through. You know, he just turned 30 this week as well, which is obviously still a significant birthday for a professional footballer. But certainly, I think from a physical point of view, he's still in tip-top shape. But yeah, people would have gone, well, are his best days behind him? He's surplus to requirements at Manchester City, but I felt all along, I mean, I had an open mind about this, and there were actually a lot of, when it first broke, because it was going for all summer, wasn't it? It came pretty soon, wasn't it, early June, that the whispers started and Everton were installed as bookies' favourites. But it was kind of like you were hoping, well, under City, as he struggled with Pep's possession-heavy sort of style of play and the way they operate. Did he just need that sort of arm round his shoulder from a manager and a fan base who'd embrace him? And he's got all that at Everton, and he's really made a flying start. Like you said, just the little cameo at Leeds United when he came on, which was a tough night all round. But those 2 games that he started in the Premier League, 2 assists in each of those. I mean, it's incredible stuff. So hopefully, long may it continue, because certainly from a talent point of view, he's obviously number 1 now in that dressing room, but it's a case of showing it, and he's been doing that.
Gav, have you changed your mind about the Jack Grealish loan deal?
No, because it's a full season, and I will be delighted to be proved wrong. Absolutely. But I just give my opinion at the time, and, you know, we've got to remember he's the highest paid player at the club by some distance, so, you know, in terms of his performances, so we're getting what we're paying for.
That's what we say about Chris in the office, to be honest.
Yeah, absolutely. And it shows in the way he dresses, doesn't it? But no, absolutely. I think it's more than delighted to see Jack disprove me. You know, and it's early days, but like we're saying about Moyes, but I've been delighted the way he's played, and also the impact. And already we're saying about, like, you know, the Everton fans getting, you know, already look at home in Hill Dickinson Stadium. Already that 3. You can see they gelled straight away, having the Grealish, Shrewsbury Hall, NJ. I think he's a proper player, NJ, by the way.
Yeah, and on that opposite flank.
Yeah. He's got 4 goals in last 4 Premier League matches, NJ. He's not even a striker, you know. And
it's just the way football's going, with wingers scoring
Yeah, well,
Or was gone even.
Moyes has always been like that, going back
Yeah.
to his style of play. If you looked at West Ham and when Everton played, and this is why I disagreed with Pat and Evan, is I always say this on this pod till I'm literally blue in the face, is Moyes' great strength is that 3 or 4 behind the striker, is having the right balance of flair and people who work hard. And, you know, and he had that at Everton first time round, didn't he? Ozzy, you know, Cahill, Baines, Pienaar. Well, if you extend it to Baines, was effectively a left winger himself for a lot of the time. Yeah. When Pienaar would move inside, you know, they players with real flair and imagination around the box, and he employed them brilliantly. And it's the same now with these 3 plus reserve strength as well.
Yeah.
More importantly, and so Grealish is part of that 3. You've done superbly over the last couple of games, and hopefully will carry on at least until a week on Saturday.
Yeah. Do you think you'll be able to maintain this over the course of the season?
I don't know. I'd say he's 30. You get the impression, don't you, that if we have a good season, Grealish will have a good season, and and that'd be fantastic. But we have to see. But we have got the important thing is if one of those 3 is injured or drops off of form a little bit, we can bring somebody else in who can.
That's thinking it. Tyler Diblin, biggest signing of the summer, and like you say, if those 3 are on it, it's going to have to be bits and pieces.
I mean, a
front as well.
Yeah,
of course.
A 3 behind Beto of McNeil, Alcaraz, and Diblin is quite decent in itself, isn't it? Really?
Yes, a second string.
Yeah, it's a second string.
I was going to say, dare I say McNeil, but I'd just be shouted down.
Well, why not? You know,
as a second string
because
option.
you think he should be playing.
He's been more or less one of the first 11 since he's been at the club, hasn't he? So all of a sudden,
absolutely. So that doesn't sound like a bad 3, does it? Really? I think Dice probably would have killed that really last season. So yeah, I think going back to the question, Grealish has done superbly. You know, that goal that Wolves, the little scoop pass and the finish by Dewsbury Hall, he looks another great buy, doesn't he? Typical Moyes buy, that his age profile and cost. That's where it's all come from, hasn't it? I just think a little bit light up top, centre forward in that.
Perfect.
System.
We're just about to talk
about
that.
Yeah.
And to be honest, coming in today, I was thinking, what am I going to headline this podcast? And I just thought, right, Beto or Barry, who starts up top. And I do think it is interesting because we do have quite a lot of options. The team, I think, is starting to kind of pick itself a little bit, other than the 2 strikers. I know we've got the left back situation, which I don't really want to go into too much detail on, but we can discuss if you want, because we did go in depth on it on Wednesday. But we've also got the Tyler Diblin situation. Yeah. We've spent a huge amount of money on him. He's not just come in to sit on the bench. He's going to want to come in. So that is another talking point. I do feel the main talking point for team selection is Beto and Barry. I don't feel like anyone really can second guess what Moyes is going to do, because Barry started against Brighton and did very well, but then he swapped it for Wolves as well. So can you see, Chris, Moyes doing that, being a bit of a tinker man over the next couple of weeks and months with those 2, or is he just seeing who's going to cement their place up top for Everton?
Yeah, I suppose it depends on form, and at the moment, Beto's 2-2. So for me, he's going to be he's the incumbent, and it's Barry's turn to wait now. So yeah, it was interesting, obviously, that he went with the new boy, Tierno Barry, for the first home game of the season. Obviously, Beto had played at Ellen Road, had a bit of a torrid time, but a lot of that was he hardly got the ball. There was no sort of service to him. But it was just see how it pans out. It was curious this week. I must confess I don't remember the lad's name, but Beto obviously plays for Guinea-Bissau now. He didn't even start their last game. He had some fella from, I think it was like the Portuguese second division or something, was ahead of him, so I'm not too sure how.
It's a big ask, that, Chris. Who he is.
Yeah, so look that one up, those in the audience.
Are you suggesting that we should have signed him over Beto?
Well, saying they're having a look at him, this lad. But yeah, so, Beto commits himself to Guinea-Bissau, and then it was on the bench. Maybe their manager, I don't know, was shuffling the pack. But yeah. Just on a game-to-game, week-to-week basis. And at the moment, I know Beto's the one with the shirt, so I would expect him to start. But, who knows? I'm sure David Moyes won't be giving too much away in his press conference this afternoon, but good to have that competition for places. But I think a lot of it might be down that there's not one of them who's necessarily dominant above the other. So... at the moment, that is because we've got to remember Barry's still, quite, as much as he offers a lot of promise, he's still young and learning in the Premier League. So we'll see how that one pans out in the coming weeks.
Would you agree with Chris, Gav? Do you give Beto the edge just because he scored those 2 goals? I mean, Barry looked okay against Brighton. I thought his link-up play and bringing other players into it. Obviously, he hasn't got his goal yet, and the longer that goes on, the more you're thinking, is he going to be a goal scorer for the club? He's a striker. That is his job. I've been thinking about this. Is there a case that I'm trying to get in Moyes' head here? By the way, does he use Barry as like the home striker or for against certain teams, or and then he uses Beto as the away striker against certain teams? I don't know. I guess it's probably just too early to say.
That's a valid point, isn't it? You don't know. Mike, if I'm a striker and I've scored in my previous game and led the line reasonably well,
on a win as well.
Yeah. I think I'd be a bit browned off if it was dropped, especially given, Moyes' previous comments, although he'd argue that it wasn't a criticism of Beto as such. I'd be a little bit browned off if I was struck off and Barry brought in. So I'm expecting Beto to play tomorrow on that basis. The only thing there was Barry. I'm not sure whether Barry would have been away on the international
with the France
break.
under 21s.
Perhaps may come into it, the international break. But I think Beto didn't play, so that helps us, doesn't it? It's just the travelling. I think I'd keep Beto tomorrow. I think he possibly can make the more, intuitive runs and more intelligent runs than Barry at the moment to free up space for the 3 behind, but. We'll see. It's nice to have. I just think we it's great saying we've got 6 players who can play behind the striker. I'd rather have not had one of them and had a third striker, to be honest with you, who offers a little bit more difference to Barry and Beto. I wouldn't be surprised at some point during the season that we see Pele enjoy playing striker.
Well, interestingly, I've just seen a comment here from someone. I'm probably lost it now, but I'll try and find it. He basically says, John Jones, it is not compulsory to play a big number 9.
Well, exactly, and that's the point, though. The way football is cyclical, big number 9s are in vogue, aren't they, at the moment? Interesting to see Tuchel last week talking about long throws and
back in fashion, apparently.
Yeah, absolutely. The old Howard against Bayern Munich tactics, 40 years on. Yeah, so yeah, I think that's spot on, and I think that's what we're missing a little bit as another striker who offers something completely different. I think that the way that the 3 play behind the big striker, I think actually having somebody who's a little bit more of a fox in the box would be beneficial to have as a backup. But we'll see. But I totally agree with that. I think we just there was a little bit of an imbalance in our pace during the summer, and that was definitely one of them where we've now got 6 players looking for 3 places behind the striker, but we've only got 2 strikers who've got the same profile.
I wouldn't be surprised at all if Barry starts tomorrow, but I do think you need a striker who starts tomorrow to try and play himself into form, whether that's Barry or Beto. Beto, obviously, you could say is in a little bit of form, albeit the break that we've had with the international games. But let's face it, we've got Liverpool coming up next week, and Beto has caused Liverpool problems. Yeah,
should have scored at Anfield.
So we know he's got you could say previous with regards to that. Barry could be deemed a little bit too inexperienced for an Anfield derby next week. So I just think I can't think of what Moyes is going to do. I really can't. So it'll be interesting to see what anyone else thinks on the stream.
If the wisdom is that like you're going to play Beto in the derby, and I think that's right. I think that's what you would do, wouldn't it? You're going to play him tomorrow, haven't you?
I think so. That's what I mean.
So him continue that run.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's what I mean. You play yourself into form, and he's already in a little bit of form.
I mean, I don't want to make Beto sound like the Brazilian Ronaldo, but if you're in the Liverpool dressing room,
it's not quite there yet.
Yeah, not there yet. Yeah. If you're in the Liverpool dressing room next week, and the team sheet's handed in, you probably want Barry on the team sheet rather than Beto if you're the Liverpool centre halves.
Yeah.
If
you look at it that way.
If you look at that for me personally, that's what sometimes as a manager, you've got a choice: is make the choice that the opposition least want you to do.
Yeah.
And that I think next week is probably a classic example of that, where as I say, we don't want to overstate Beto, but he did cause them enormous difficulties in the first half. and then he mugged Van Dijk off, didn't he? Is that you'd have Beto next week?
Yeah.
So therefore play him tomorrow.
It's a bit of, I'm not saying you're saying this because you're not, but it's a nonsense to think, well, we'll save Beto for tomorrow so we can play him against Liverpool. It doesn't work like that.
No. You've got to have, as Chris says, you want a bit of continuity after the international break because you've had 2 nights out a game, and just generally getting back into the swing of things. That's right. I mean, let's face it, if you're Barry, you know your position's only you've been brought probably in as, not say the backup striker, but where you're not necessarily the first choice striker. So don't you get those, whoever out of the two of them, whoever is on the bench, that at some point you're going to get on, mate.
Yeah, and without getting too far ahead of ourselves, obviously a couple of days, 3 days after the derby, you've got the Carabao Cup game at Wolves, at Wolves. So it's a perfect opportunity if you want to have Beto for the next 2, and then maybe go with Barry.
You definitely got to think. I know a lot of managers say 1 game at a time, but you've definitely got to look ahead to that. Yeah. We've just talked about how desperate we are, but obviously Moyes probably will be to win a trophy. Yeah. The League Cup's like the first one that you've got to go for, and
do you think Moyes is desperate to win a trophy?
I would say so, yeah. Desperate in terms of he's already proved that he can do it with West Ham, but he would love to win a trophy with Everton.
Yeah, he would. But whether he's absolutely judge his entire career at Everton having not won a trophy, I'm not sure in this day and age whether that counts as failure.
I think when you look back at managers' achievements and the credentials and stuff like that, you'd always see what they've won, and I think there would be a tinge of regret from David Moyes once he retires to think that he's only just wins the Europa Conference League. It's a huge achievement, don't get me wrong, with West Ham, but there was opportunities maybe to win more, and hopefully there's going to be opportunities more in the future.
West Ham to win more. What's he got? 2 European semi-finals, was it, apart from winning?
It's got to be about winning trophies, though, Gav, hasn't
he's
it?
had a couple of semi-finals. No, I'm not so sure about that in modern management if you're not managing one of the big 6 clubs, or indeed Newcastle.
It's not to say that he's a bad manager if he just wins the Europa Conference League.
I disagree. I don't think you'd define Moyes' tenure as a manager at Everton by whether he won a trophy or not. But at the same time, it is possible to say there was opportunities there with a little bit more, I don't know, determination, ambition by Moyes that we should have done better on certain occasions. You know what I'm talking about there? 2012 Liverpool semi-final when they were there for the taking.
That's and also he said that himself, though, wasn't he?
And the Chelsea semi-final in 2008, the League Cup, where they were down to 10 minutes in the first leg.
Sean Ray Phillips scored, and
McFadden hit the post, didn't he, when he should have passed for the yak, wasn't it? And that was an opportunity missed. I think because Chelsea were there for the taking then, and we ended up conceding a goal to Sean Ray Phillips, who was Lescott's about a foot taller than him. So it was most of this pod talking about Moyes, but it is relevant, isn't it?
He is the manager, I guess.
He is the manager, but about Moyes from 20 years ago, I suppose. But I'm not sure whether he would. It'd be nice to have, but I'm certainly not defining his Everton tenure by whether he won a trophy. But it would be fantastic if he did.
It's a curious one, isn't it? Because obviously Ange Postecoglou, big Ange, I'll say, lost his obviously back in the Premier League now with Nottingham Forest. But that didn't save him, did it? He won that European trophy with Tottenham because he'd had such a poor Premier League season. It didn't save his job, and I mean, talking about Manchester United, of course, so it didn't save Louis van Gaal either, and it almost didn't save Ten Hag. Got him a bit of a stay of execution. He ended up going anyway. So yeah, I'm actually with Ian. I don't know if Moyes would say it publicly, and he's been careful not to do that. It's been others been saying it to him, but he did speak very openly about how, rightly so, the win in Prague at West Ham United is the greatest night of his career. And that's what it's for football clubs. I mean, Everton's got a very proud record of 9 league championships, but at the moment, the way football is, adding to that's beyond them. So for me, if Everton aren't chasing trophies, what's their raison d'etre? What are they doing? A club of their size, they've got to chase the trophies.
I think that's a very valid point. I'm not sure where football is now compared to, say, 4 years ago. Look at the teams who've won trophies in the last 3 seasons: West Ham, Palace, Newcastle. Sort of teams that you would put in our group.
Oh yeah.
So it's not like sort of 4 or 5 years ago where it was like Chelsea, Man City, that all the time, which is still is to a degree. But there have been opportunities, that if you do grab the bull by the horns, like say Palace did last year, did brilliantly, didn't he? Is to win a trophy, and Palace beat Villa and City to win the FA Cup.
Well, I think unless you're one of the clubs who've got the greatest resources, it's always the look of the draw, isn't it, in the cups, like who you get, isn't it, and whether it's home or away, or you know, you might get an easy path to the latter stages. But at least Moyes is. You could see with that team he picked against Mansfield, he was taking it seriously. It was a proper team, and that's when I did me nuts a few years ago when me and Joe went down to Bournemouth. Obviously, it was that infamous time. I mean, we were working, the poor fans who handed their money over to go twice in 4 days. When Lampard made 11 changes away against another Premier League team, like, no, you shouldn't be doing that. Make a few, but you know, you're away against another Premier League team. You put a whole second string out there. So Moyes was serious about that. They were at home against the League One side, albeit one in good form, but he made a team to win the match. And that's what I'd like to say. Maybe you could argue whether Barry or Beto starts up front at Molineux, but I want to see a proper team goes out to try and win that game, and you know, don't put yourself at a disadvantage. So yeah, for me, it's still it should be a huge thing. I get where Gav's coming from, and you know, he's will be defined on his league finishes ultimately. Yeah, but yeah, I mean, Everton, the whole generation of Evertonians growing up not winning anything, and you know, that's got to be rectified. If you're Everton man, you've got to do Everton. You'll be remembered forever. You'll be loved forever if you win that trophy.
I just think, obviously, we're going off on a bit of a tangent on this. This is probably a podcast in itself. I do think for Moyes, like he wants to win more trophies just for himself as well, for his managerial career. If you know, this is just a random scenario, or imagine he's just like a pundit on TV and it shows up, you know, David Moyes won Conference League win. There's nothing wrong in that. It was a fantastic achievement, but he wants to add more. Yeah, he wants to be alongside of other great managers who've won multiple trophies.
He's not great man. No, they're great managers who, with all due respect, at a level above Moyes, who've been a trophy-winning club. So I mean, you don't want to compare them to them, but I think that I wouldn't define them by that. It'd be great to have.
I'm certainly not going to define Moyes' second stint by winning a trophy or not.
No,
it would be a cherry. No, it would be a cherry on top of the cake. It'd be a bonus if we do.
Yeah.
I'd probably define, if he carries on the way he's going and gets us to a respectable position in the league within this 2-year period, say that's how long he stays for, I'll probably define him how he's turned the club around and reshaped it. Yeah, alongside obviously the new owners.
You're defined as a manager, aren't you, by the state of the club when you leave compared to when you joined. And if you compare, you know, what we're hoping for Moyes, it'll be in a far better position. But there you go.
Okay, moving on. Just some comments.
Does anybody else say? I was going to any comments on this off people?
Well, I'll have a look because I'm just going to read some of these out. So Gaspipe, just on Beto, says Beto was 2 goals, leave him in. And James Graham says, I'm definitely playing Beto against Liverpool.
Yeah.
There's actually no comments as of yet with regards to what we've just been speaking about. So if comments do come in, I will read them out. Just very quickly then, because we're going to do team selection, and this all coincides with team selection anyway.
Can I just bring one more, insert an agenda item here quickly?
Go on. for today or a different show?
Now, just very briefly, Everton Academy, the report that's come out this week. I was talking to you about, Chris, wasn't I? Where I can't remember who the organisation who deals with the monitor club academies, and Everton's is in terms of playing time of academy graduates over the last X years, Everton's is the 4th best in the Premier League.
Okay. Tells Tony Scott that.
Behind Arsenal, Chelsea, and I can't remember. It was another London club. I think because it's not just academies. How you view academies, not just how you players that you get into the first team. In terms of minutes, is what the players who come through the academy do elsewhere in the Football League, that they have a future in football. That's what academies are just there for as much as anything else, and generating money for the club. And on that basis, there was a report that came out this week. Sadly, I can't remember the full details. And it's probably something we need to cover later on, where Everton, on those metrics, is the 4th best, up from 8th last year, I think. 4th best in the country.
So players who've come from the academy getting minutes
for Everton, and also then players who've then moved on elsewhere and getting minutes elsewhere in the Football League.
Who was bottom?
I don't know. I wouldn't like to say. I only look at the top these days with Everton. And
getting cocky now, isn't he?
No, I'm not getting cocky. There's an irony there, I think. Is what we perceive the academy's performance as, and what the academy actually does are 2 different things. And it goes back to this thing, when the club's doing badly, you end up giving lots of stick to parts of a club that don't need it. It's like commercialisation. The club's doing badly and they're trying to commercialise it. Well, you can't do that. The club's doing well. It's like, oh yeah, we're growing. And the same with the academy. And, the academy's performance compared to the reality of that, what Everton fans think, are two completely different things. Fourth best in the country.
Hopefully that's something for Nick Cox to work with, because he comes with a very good reputation from Manchester United, so hopefully that bodes well.
No, I mean, to be honest, I feel like that is probably a talking point that needs a bit more.
It does. I mean, you can quote the report. It's just when you're thinking about, maybe because we have had a good start to the season, I just think it's something that's worth adding to that actually the academy performs far better than what people realise on the metric of the minutes played in first team football by graduates.
Cool. Okay. Very quickly before we do come on to our team selection, again, this all coincides with team selection anyway, but does Tyler Diblin have to wait his turn, Chris? Obviously, the three that we've spoke about it's going to be very difficult to dislodge those at the moment. And the left-back situation, all I'm going to say on this is we spoke about this in depth on Wednesday. I do believe if Mykolenko is injured, which we'll find out fully on Moyes' press conference this afternoon.
Possibly not.
Potentially. If he is injured, I've got no doubt it'll be James Garner who plays there. Obviously, I've advocated for McNeil to try out there. However, it's not a hill I'm willing to die on. So in terms of those two, Chris, left-back, who slots in as left back if Mykolenko was injured, and does Tyler Diblin have to wait for his turn?
I think, given all that we've just said about the front three, the free attacking midfield three behind the striker, I think so. Unless there's been some, hopefully there isn't anything unfortunate we don't know about. There'll be those three incumbent ones. Interesting in with the left back, because Mykolenko, I believe, has been pictured back in training, so he'd obviously be the obvious choice to slot back in his natural position. But I wonder where Jared Branthwaite is up to now, because obviously with his hamstring he's supposed to be making decent progress, and I just wonder, given how well Michael Keane has done actually, whether for one game or so, I don't know, putting Branthwaite at left back, it could be, something couldn't be discounted.
Fitness, isn't it, really? Yeah, it's always been an option. He played left back last year, a couple of games, didn't he? I think Branthwaite.
I seem to remember playing. Was it the year before the Fulham possibly cup game, something? But so I think a lot depends on those respective fitness levels for Mykolenko and Branthwaite. I think what James Garner has shown, because we all like, what was this? When we saw the team drop at Leeds, and the fact he was playing left back. I think they were targeting obviously in the first half, but he's not let anyone down badly. He's done a job there, and then obviously he scores that wonder goal, guts forward on his right foot and scores against Brighton. So if need be, he can continue in there. But I think a lot of it depends on the fitness, obviously, of Mykolenko, who's the natural option, or even Branthwaite.
We'll go straight into team selection.
Yeah, sorry, can I just mention another thing?
Yeah, go on.
Yeah, sorry.
He's full of it today.
No. What do you think of Branthwaite's England chances at the moment going forward for the World Cup? Bear in mind that Tuchel's recent comments, the fact that he appears to have settled on a centre-half partnership of Konza and Gay whip back up. Branthwaite's missed the September break. I think he's probably going to miss the October break as well for fitness reasons. Time's running out for him, isn't it, for him to get a World Cup?
And competitive in the qualifiers, maybe.
And a World Cup spec, which, as I said before, that means the first time you can play in the World Cup is when he's probably 28. And so it's gone back to Chris's point.
Let's hope Jared's not listening to this podcast.
Yeah. No, but it's relevant though, isn't it? Because it's relevant to his fitness, and his fitness playing for Everton, and his performances for Everton, isn't it, really? So
I suppose if he gets himself fit and has a good season at Everton, then he's got a chance in the friendlies after the turn of the year.
Exactly, and that's what I'm saying. It's important for Branthwaite to get back into the team, both for Everton and his England prospects as well, isn't it?
But I think that also comes down to potential fitness issues that he's got and his injury record.
Well, that's right, isn't it? Yeah. So we don't want to rush him back, do we? And as Chris made the point there, if Michael Keane was being really mentioned. And we know it's like when on the pod, if Michael Keane gets a bit of stick, that tends to go. The pod tends to loads of comments. Michael Keane's not been mentioned at all. I know he was a bit sort of slack at Wolves, wasn't he? But I think he's been okay. And as Chris said, Branthwaite may be an option at some point at left back.
Team selection then. What would you do? We obviously won the last game against Wolves. Can we play the same team? We don't know yet as such because obviously Mikalenko.
Well, Mikalenko's fitness is key to everything, isn't it?
Yeah,
here,
it
isn't
literally
really?
is key.
Because Garner gets moved around potentially otherwise.
So Mikalenko, if he's fit, same team, isn't it?
Yeah, I'd think so. Yeah, I think if everyone's available, in terms of the last starting 11 at Molineux, it's same again. I think.
But if Mikalenko's not fit, you've got to play Garner, haven't you, at left back? And
Who comes in midfield then?
Well, they've got a couple of choices there, isn't it? You can play Dewsbury Hall there and play somebody behind the striker, can't you? Or just bring in a Boonham in.
Or Roll.
Yeah, of course. Who, as we said, Michael Ball been hearing whispers of Roll have been tearing it up at training. So yeah, maybe he's a wild card there. Maybe he's a bit of a...
It's a big ask though, isn't it, really? I think Ida Boonham, I think he did okay against Brighton, didn't he?
It's his former club, of course, he did a point to prove, wouldn't he?
Possibly, not the only one in the Everton team, is he?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think Ida Boonham for Garner, and Garner goes left back would be my preferred selection.
Is that what you would do, Chris?
It'd be interesting. We'll be in a home game, possibly even put, like as Gav's alluded to, Dewsbury Hall could go deeper and allow you to have one of those other attack minded. But it'd be quite bold, wouldn't it, to do that, I suppose, against Villa?
Yeah, because let's face it, they've had a poor start. Who was the first manager that said was going to get sacked this season?
Emery.
And he didn't. I was gutted when Nuno got sacked.
You're still wrong, though.
I was gutted
when
Nuno
got sacked. Yeah.
I bet you were made up with Villa started the season.
Well, no, I'm not say that at all. Not say that at all. I'll be made up if the season's still a bad start tomorrow. By the way.
But do you know what? Weirdly, we haven't even spoke about Villa, have we? And we actually play them tomorrow. What I will say is I did an in-depth podcast with the host of the Claret and Blue Aston Villa podcast yesterday. Okay. That was like a good 45 minutes worth of Everton Villa preview content. But just very quickly on Villa, are you surprised at their poor start? Because you touted Emery to be sacked. Yeah. I did say that I feel like Villa have hit somewhat of a ceiling. They haven't spent, so almost to an extent... Standing still has made them
They've
go
lost
backwards.
Players, haven't he? You know, I just think there was also, I think, on Wednesday's pod, my Villa thing came from the fact that I knew they were going to lose players because of the PSR, but also the fact that when you end the season like they did, you know, where you've had Champions League and then you're not, that can have an enormous deflation impact on you, and that's really where it was coming from. Around that, but they've still got a lot of good players besides that, haven't they?
I think there's been a couple of comments on the stream here, basically saying we shouldn't underestimate Aston Villa here. Yeah. We know they've had a poor start, but they've got some very good players, and even on the final day, whether you think they've got quality or what, but Jadon Sancho and Harvey Elliott signed on loan as well, so you'd expect them to feature at some point.
Yeah, Harvey Elliott will be wanting to prove a point, won't he?
It pains me to say it's a good player, Elliott. I think that's a great deal. Yeah.
How much are they asking for?
35.
I haven't seen enough of him, to be honest, but I just think he's one of those players he's versatile. So where does he actually play? Where is he a specialised player?
Well, that's right, I think, coming in.
We'll see where he plays tomorrow if he does play. So if he doesn't play well and doesn't get on the score sheet.
No, it's good signing, though.
Yeah. Okay. Any final thouts before? Well, we haven't done predictions. Sorry, predictions.
So I was just going to say before we go to predictions. Yeah, obviously, as I mentioned at the start, got the Hill Dickinson Stadium tours coming up.
Cheers, bro. I've been fiddling with this the whole episode and it's just broke. So
everything's functional in it. Oh, he says.
As long as that's the only thing that's getting broken, I don't care.
If we do a Royal Blue outtakes before Christmas, that's on it. Yeah,
I'm glad that wasn't happening for me last night at the new stadium. Bits falling off.
So anyway, go on, stadium.
It was only a little sneak preview of that, but you know they're up. Apparently they're sold out all through September and October anyway. But you obviously hugely popular at Goodison Park for many years. There's even talk how they might combine it. Might be nice where you could do Goodison and Hill Dickinson in the same day, you know, because there's still obviously a lot of interest there. That's another thing actually to mention. I'll be at the back at the Grand Old Lady on Sunday because obviously it's a historic day for Everton women's team, their first competitive game after it becoming their permanent home. I've noticed they're taking down a lot of the cladding there at the moment, the former players. So I don't know how Goodison's going to change from an external point of view. They're sort of halfway through it at the moment. So though the underneath that we've not seen for several years now is out on display. So it's kind of like when you're sort of doing a job and you're halfway through. But so it's a huge moment for Everton women, and they're hoping to get big crowd to get down there ahead of after the Anfield success. But yeah, it was really enjoyable evening last night. Took my youngest daughter Jemima, who's 12 and a half, looking around, and obviously in the home dressing room there, and a few pictures there, and the dugout, stuff like that. So I know there's a huge lot of demand from it from supporters, and it looks like it's going to be really well received.
Do you have a tear in your eye, Gav, seeing the timeline come down from Goodison Park?
I had to check all the facts on that, you know.
It's all down to you if there's any.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That was it. Tell you what, that was an awkward one. I can tell you. I think obviously he's got to put something else up there. You know, the girl scored hat-trick last week.
Yeah, I don't know about the timeline. Ian. It was, the big pictures of the former players on the main stand. It was them, half of them come down. Right. I don't know. I imagine the timeline will be staying there. But
any ideas what they're expecting on?
No, I've not. I don't know. I'll have to ask that one.
Some good deals, isn't it? You can get 4 for 20s or something like that.
For the tours.
No, for the.
For the women's. Oh yeah, that was family of 4 can go for £20. As it's been pointed out, there's not many family activities that a family of 4 can do for £20. So it's certainly not really a cost issue. Hopefully for people. They've like the men. I think there's about 9 new faces coming through the door, and obviously Hannah Forshaw, the chief exec. She's hoping to really sort of move things on this season, and obviously Brian Sorensen's been the manager there for a while now. But he's a bit like with Everton's men team, experienced the tough times, and now obviously got a bit more to spend there. So it's big expectations.
Yeah, should have Mo Marley there, shouldn't he? Who's basically
invented
the women's football team at Everton.
Maybe that is. Maybe Mo will have her image up there. Perhaps. Yeah, perhaps absolutely. That's part of the revamp. We need to look into that.
That's one of the great modern Evertonians. Absolutely.
Yeah. Predictions then? I said 2-1.
Well, for Everton?
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah, I'm going to say the joy de vivre is going to continue. Yeah, 2-0.
I like this positive Gav.
Speaking of Goodison, Villa become the first club to play on our 3 grounds against us.
First opponents, yeah, the most played fixture in top flight football.
In English league football.
Is that
whatever division? Yeah, absolutely.
I'll say same as you actually. 2-1 maybe. Yeah, go with that. But pretty positive, isn't it? Free predictions for a win, because I always think, and another one of Gav's stats, isn't it? They've had more wins against Villa than any other opponent. But 76. Certainly in recent years, Everton don't tend to get a lot of the rub of the green against Villa.
We've not won against them since they came up in 2018. Right. So in the Premier League, 12 games. I won't give you the draws and losses, but you can imagine.
There was the Carabao Cup win, wasn't there? But in the league, ago. So they're due one then. So
Moyes got a good record. He's only lost 2 of his last 17 against Villa in the Premier League.
There you go, due one. Yeah. Hopefully,
fingers crossed. Then, just so everyone knows that me and Tony Scott are going to be in the studio tomorrow, following on from the game. So that will be live, and it will be around 5:30, 5:45, depending on how quick we can get to the studio from
getting your steps
the stadium. Well, I'm expecting a big. Obviously, a lot of people leaving and stuff. A big rush to get out.
It is a bit walking down that road into town.
I did it in 20 minutes.
It is
20
a
minutes.
bit of,
maybe a positive result. See more of a spring in their step or something like that.
Yeah, get known to listen to watch Croll and Scotty.
There we go.
Yeah.
What better way to enjoy the post-match victory?
Okay, well, that is all for today's show. Please remember to give us a like and subscribe to the channel. Drop us some 5-star reviews on Apple and Spotify. Most importantly, enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy your weekend. I've been Ian Croll with Chris Beesley and Gav Buckland, and this has been the Royal Blue Podcast.